There are a myriad of haunted places and artifacts all over the world, some dating back hundreds of years, some with gruesome and brutal backstories, some with a sense of vengeance, and some that have a little bit of everything thrown in. The idea of hauntings evokes all kinds of emotions, images, and for some, even memories. Haunting has been extensively portrayed in film and literature, often playing on the experiences of the unlucky few. That being said, ghost stories do make for good reading and watching. But what if those stories you watch or read from the safety of your sofa or bed became all the more real? So today, here at Unexplained Mysteries, we'll be taking a look at 3 of the world's most haunted places and the stories behind them. Highgate Cemetery, London, UK. Just the word cemetery is capable of sending chills down some people's spines. Generally speaking, humans tend to find things associated with loss of life rather creepy, and the story behind Highgate Cemetery is not likely to alter their impression. Highgate Cemetery is chilling enough in pictures, let alone in real life. Built in the 1830s, the cemetery is the burial place of 170,000 people. Amongst them are the singer George Michael, political philosopher Karl Marx, South African anti-apartheid campaigner Yusuf Dadoo, and scientist Michael Faraday. The cemetery, situated in North London, covers some 37 acres. Its spectacular Gothic architecture made it a fashionable place to be buried in Victorian England, coincidentally the same era that ghost stories and Gothic fiction began to rise in creativity and subsequently popularity. Works such as Bram Stoker's Dracula, Edgar Allan Poe's poem The Raven, Robert Louis Stevenson's Jekyll and Hyde, and Henry James's The Turn of the Screw were all published between 1837 and 1901, owing to the reinterpretation of horror in Victorian times. It wasn't until the 1970s, however, that the most famous haunting story arose out of Highgate. In the late 1960s, Highgate Cemetery fell victim to vandalism. In fact, the tomb of Karl Marx had survived 2 attempted explosive strikes. In 1968, a group of young occult enthusiasts began visiting the cemetery, following various reports of paranormal activity in the cemetery. This activity included sightings of the deceased rising from sealed graves, phantoms drifting around the cemetery, and even an attack on a teenager, leaving physical scars. In the same year the group visited, what was described as a desecration of one grave was discovered. It was not known whether the occult group had anything to do with this, but the scene discovered was horrendous nonetheless. According to reports in the London Evening News, an unknown person arranged flowers taken from graves in circular patterns with arrows of blooms pointing to a new grave, which was uncovered. A coffin was opened and the body inside was disturbed. But their most gruesome act was driving an iron stake in the form of a cross through the lid and into the chest of the corpse. In the years following the bizarre finding, bodies of deceased animals with slashed throats began to appear in the cemetery. And when a local newspaper published the story of a man named David Farrant in February 1970, the Highgate vampire myth was further fueled. David Farrant had reported seeing a grey figure wandering amongst the tombstones that he believed to be supernatural. Soon after, David Farrant entered into a bitter ghost-hunting dispute with self-proclaimed exorcist Sean Manchester. Sean Manchester declared the phantom a vampire, and the pair set about hunting it down. David Farrant was later arrested, and the ordeal ended in 1973 when Sean Manchester allegedly drove a stake through the beast's heart in the House of Dracula in Crouch End, London. The legend, however, lives on to this day. The Churul of India. Southeast Asia may not be the first place your mind wanders to when you think of hauntings. However, Asia is rich in fascinating culture and tradition, and from this comes some interesting ghost stories. You'd be forgiven for not knowing what the subject of our next story is. It's prominent in India, Bangladesh, and Pakistan, and is a demonic, malevolent force taking the form of a woman. It's called a churul. The Churel is described as the ghost of an impurified living thing, and is also known as the tree spirit as she tends to latch onto trees in the jungles of Asia. She allegedly takes the form of a beautiful woman, luring men she wants to revenge on into the woods only to take their lives or to take their vitality. The latter turns the men into much older beings. Churels are thought to come from women who have experienced an unnatural loss of life. This is often during pregnancy or childbirth, or from suffering at the hands of her in-laws. Often, Churels will haunt the men of a certain family, as the spirit of the mistreated woman is related to them. The legend is thought to come from Persia, now Iran, where the Churel forms from women who have lived an unsatisfactory life, or who have unfulfilled desires. Once appearing to men, again often in a jungle, the mountains, or other remote places, she removes her cloak of beauty to reveal a monstrous, gnarled appearance. The true form of the Churel is a woman with a disfigured appearance. Depending on the country from which the legend originates, Churels can have black tongues, no mouth at all, a face to resemble a pig, claw-like hands, and fangs. This is far from the stunning appearance of a young woman dressed all in white that the Churel allegedly shapeshifts to. According to Asian folklore, one can prevent the creation of a Churel by either preventing its creation by treating a woman well during pregnancy, or by performing a series of rituals upon the body once they have passed away. In some parts of Asia, the ground where the woman passed away is purified or dug up and treated with mustard, which keeps the Churel content. The failure to do this leaves the Churel roaming the graveyards, battlefields, mountains, and jungles of India and other South Asian countries. The Black Forest, Germany. Germany's Black Forest lies on the Franco-German border, with Freiburg in Germany being the nearest city to the mountainous area. It is said that the canopy of evergreen fir trees that makes up much of the forest's greenery is so dense that light cannot penetrate it, even in the daytime. The Black Forest is a little chilling by name alone, and has been a fitting setting for many ghoulish tales. The Brothers Grimm, authors of famous folk tales Hansel and Gretel, Snow White, and A Little Red Riding Hood, amongst many others, drew inspiration from the Black Forest. From pictures alone, you can see why the Black Forest was such a fantastic setting for the Brothers Grimm. It lends itself so well to stories of elves and fairies, to werewolves and magicians. There is no single haunted tale that originates from the Black Forest, rather several different alleged sightings and hauntings in the forest. These range from a headless horseman maniacally rampaging through the towering trees to the devil himself residing somewhere among the forest's sinister beauty. But there is one story set in the Black Forest that is perhaps the scariest work set in the area. It's called The Necromancer by Ludwig Flammenberg. Flammenberg's story is a compilation of vicious, supernatural tales of taking lives and disappearances in the Black Forest. The dizzying plot follows two men, Hermann and Helfrid, and the mysterious wizard Volkert the Necromancer. Necromancy is the act of communicating with the deceased and engaging in rituals or even raising them from the grave. Like Flammenberg's story, necromancy is based upon dark magic and superstition, which are both commonly associated with the mysterious Black Forest. Playing on the dangers of superstition, The Necromancer by Flammenberg serves as both a haunting horror story and something of a didactic warning to those who dabble in the dark arts. However, it is understandable that a setting as encapsulating as the Black Forest would create such a vivid tale, one of which most of us would most definitely not like to be a character in. There have been sightings of the other legendary and often terrible creatures that are said to reside in the forest that we mentioned earlier, and many who journey to the edge of the dark, shady expanse describe feelings of eeriness overcoming them as they venture deeper and deeper into the malevolent heart of the forest. These three stories surround themselves with their own horrifyingly unique backstory, from dark magic in an even darker forest, a ghostly, vengeful, shape-shifting apparition deep in South Asia, and a creepy graveyard. Would you dare to explore them? But what do you make of these most haunted places? Be sure to let us know your thoughts in the comments section below and help us by growing this community while working to solve these unexplained mysteries. Thank you for watching, and don't forget to subscribe for more videos.